So, good morning to everyone, and it's so, I would say, humbling and great honor and privilege to have Ms Garima Jain in our monthly broadcast. I mean, she is a well-known personality, short of and as good as a celebrity in her own field.
Absolutely.
In the agriculture and commodities industry, currently serving as Deputy CEO and Head of Grains, Louis Dreyfus India. And with over 19 years of leadership experience, she has made significant contributions to the sector through her strategic insights and operational expertise. Prior to Louis Dreyfus, Garima held the role of CEO at AgroCorp India. This is a Vijay Iyengar group, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Where she successfully led the company for more than 8 years, managing crucial aspects of their supply chain operations and driving the company's growth in international trade. In fact, her journey includes also being a trader at Cargill. So she must have served under Siraj, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Siraj was a senior, and I think he also went through, like I said, STC, then ITC, Agro, and then Cargill, of course, where she spent over 8 years honing her skills in grains and oil streets trading. With vast experience across key industry players, Garima brings a very unique perspective on global commodity traders. Garima has broken all kinds of ceilings, glass, concrete, everything.
Just, I'm humbled by the introduction.
In addition to a corporate roles, Garima is a board member of the Agricultural Skill Council of India, where she contributes expertise to shaping the future of skill development in India's agricultural sector. So, with this small introduction, without further ado, I hand over the mic, as our usual tradition, to Samir,
the
backbone and spine of our podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys, and have a great show.
Thank you, Ajit sir. Thank you so much. Always for your good wishes. Grateful. Right. So Tanmay, if you could, switch these spots, please. Spotlights. Yeah. And all good with the recording, I hope, so far?
Yes, sir. It's all good.
Great. Tanmay, if you could put me back on the spot.
Yes, sir.
Just put me back on the spot, please. Thank you. So, thank you so much, Garima. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. And I'm sure there are a lot of other IFTians who would also be joining in, who are very eager to listen to you today, right? Garima, my first question to you is, how were your IFT days? आप नटखट बालक थे IFT में. How were the days? Tell us more about your IFT days, your hostel days, IFT days, your favorite professors, classes. What was your favorite subject? What did you do well? What you didn't do well? There are a lot of IFTians who are from campus from the current batch as well who are listening to you.
I must speak better about my days, not the
candid. This is a candid conversation.
Thank you, Samir. And then, I already feel very nostalgic. Those were literally the best days when I spent 2 years at IIFT. But, in your question, you said days almost 3 times. I would say that IFT was not about days. It was also about the wonderful evenings. It was not about only studies and the professors that we had, but it was about Kovadi, Flash, the evening sessions. IFT was not about ragging, as they say, but it was about PDPs, personality development sessions. It's also, a place where, you see, first of all, when you land at IFT, you know that you will get placed. And therefore, the biggest risk is taken away from your life. And what you create are only positive memories. at that place. It is not about having or making friends, I would say. It is also about creating your social network at that platform, at that ecosystem. Because 20 years hence, when you meet those people, the same people who are probably your great friends at the campus, if they ask you, what is your salary and what is your position, then probably they are not one of your greatest friends. But if they ask you how you are doing, how's your family, how are your kids, what are they doing, that's the social network you need to create. It's also a place wherein you see all your friends walking around in slippers. You don't know. Later on, they become
Pajamas
corporate and
pajamas
pajamas and shirts and whatnot. But those are the people eventually, you don't know who becomes corporate honchos, walking around with their name and fame in the industry, in the country. So it's when I joined IIFT in 2003, it was a state of the art infrastructure facilities. That is something that I remember. What I do reminisce is the soft power, the soft environment that is there in IIFT. It is of the hunger of the kids who come to IIFT after an intense competition from middle class background with a dream in their eyes to make it big. And when you see those dreams succeeding, you feel very proud of that place. Um, I sometimes also say that it is a place which makes men out of boys. So to all the people who are attending today, IFT is not about the sleep that you will lose because you are making dreams here. It is about the dreams that you make. It is not about your project submissions, working hours. It is about the knowledge that you will gain here. It is not about running around and trying to make your own space because one day you will get your space. So it was fun time. But since you asked, uh, this was more on the entire platform and ecosystem. Honestly speaking, during my days at IFT, and especially my batchmates know, I spent 80% time on the badminton court and table tennis.
That reminds me, you're a great sportsman, right? You played sports at a state level as well. Yeah.
We had a inter MBA inter B school sports competition called as Chakravyuh. I brought the Abhimanyu back to the college. I was the best sports person for table tennis and badminton. So I enjoy sports, yes, and it basically also helps you to become what you are because being in sports gives you a kind of a mental strength and also the power to fail and to get up again. I would say that's something that you learn.
That's a very good thing you mentioned, that the power of resilience, right? You fall and you come back again. Would you like to elaborate on that before we move on to further questions?
Coupled with
and how do you keep that energy and positivity up despite the ups and downs of life? We'd love to hear.
I mean, you need to create a support system around you because life is not going to be the same. And when you create a support system, it is not about what you take from them, but do you stand with them when they need you? We all have various support systems in our lives, right? Our parents are our forever support system. Then comes a phase of siblings. I still go back to my brother and sister for few things, which I know that they will be the right people for their advices. And then comes a stage wherein support or no support is your spouse, which is a very critical juncture. And then, of course, at the later stage, kids become your support. So, fortunately, my spouse is also from IIFT 2004 batch, and he's also the reason and biggest support. He makes life very easygoing, and that's incredible.
That's very nice to hear. So, how is your day structured usually? I mean, the weekdays as well at the office, and then how do you spend your weekends? What are your hobbies? What are you as a person? We would love to know. The weekdays is fine. I mean, that's more of the work side, work aspect of your life. And we'd like to know, how do you spend your Saturdays, Sundays? And you mentioned your support system. So what is that support ecosystem all about? It's good to know. Your husband is also from IFT. A little more about him.
Lots of questions.
I'm sorry if there are a lot of questions. I could break them down for you. Not an issue.
So Samir, I'm a mother of 3 kids. And if you expect 2 hands on a kid, on raising a kid, assume that I have 6 already. And how's the day structured? Like any other mother, mom, it is straight to the kitchen in the morning with lots of work and sending the kids to school.
Kids off to school.
And then the day is pretty normal, juggling between various calls and the office stuff that you have, which is quite regular. So weekends are, I would say, a lot about fun time around the family, around the support system that is there. So we have a lot of fun sessions. We have lots of sporting activities. The kids are going to various academies. And now they don't consider me as their mentor or coach or into any sporting activities. So
I don't believe that. I'm sure you'll always will be a mentor and coach for always. Yeah.
So a bit about my husband, as I just mentioned. He was a bit into sports, but then he had to get a lot into sports. So he started playing table tennis. And then he started defeating me, so that was his biggest win, I would say. But he's also he's a known commodity into the commodity industry, and that's the best thing, because the least you do is to talk about your work, and the best thing you do is to talk less, because that's how the things run very smoothly. So it's just. I think you have to make your life enjoyable and easy.
Understood. Garima, at the institute, what actually made you choose a career in commodity trading? I'm sure even during that year, there would have been a lot of corporates who would have come from the general side of business, right? And I'm sure you would have reached great heights with them as well. However, we'd really like to know what made you choose this profession. And any tips, because a lot of IFTians who've been asking me that IFT trading to our core strength hai, we also want to go back to it and really specialize in it, because of course we are the best institute in the country, and if I may say in Asia as well on this. So over to you. And pardon me if I'm asking too many questions at the same time. I could pace it out, but then I understand it's Diwali time, you shorten time as well. We don't want to take too much of your time.
Not at all. So you use the word, Samir, choose.
That's right.
And let me put it this way, that certain things happen by default. You don't plan so much, or you don't have to plan everything in your life. So I will answer one of your questions, first of all, on the advices. My first advice to everybody, and especially the young energy that we have here today, is that not everything will go as per your plan. And you cannot plan your career in a sacrosanct way that you're going to do this for 5 years and then this for the next 5 years. Because a lot of things are going to happen in your life which will be, let's say, not as per your choice. If I look at my own journey and if I connect the dots, I would say that everything happened on its own.
Okay.
The only thing and the only advice that I have to give is that you have to do your best wherever you are. Just give your 100% to everything. Things may or may not be going as per your plan. But if you give your 100%, things will turn around in your way. And the second thing I want to today relay is that increase your surface area of love. And that you do by being there every day, standing up on every occasion, standing up for yourself.
Despite all the failures.
Despite all the failures, create or stand by your value system. Because in life, circumstances are going to change. You will always have different kind of circumstances. What is going to make you successful is the choices that you make under those circumstances and how well you follow your value system. And that is going to stay with you in long run. I was fortunate when I was at IIFT to be placed by Cargill from the campus. And when I joined that company, my first thought was never been in a hurry to change your jobs because these are very good companies built over more than 150 years. So I worked for that organization for 8 years. And I would also say that a company like Cargill coming to the campus in 2005 also tells you that there are no biases against women in trading industry because that company hired me from campus in a trading organization. So that speaks on its own about how this industry was even at that time.
Can I ask a frank question, Garima, if you don't mind, because you mentioned this? Trading to a large extent is still a men's world, right? So how did you manage all those biases? And a sub question of that, if you don't mind. A lot of young IFTians who are envisioning a career in trade, what kind of qualities do large firms like Cargill, ABCD firms, even Indian firms like Olam, look at people who they're hiring to be good traders, and what does it take them to sustain themselves and possibly reach levels such as yours?
Yeah. First of all, like I said, no biases.
Because I just said you broke the glass ceiling, the concrete ceiling, everything, and of course, applause to you for that. However, just love to hear. What are the biases which you faced?
Well, when I joined in 2005, it used to be a very different kind of an environment. Travel was not so easy. People, for example, if I were to call various traders and brokers, the first instance would be that they would keep down the phone because they would not know how to talk. And I used to call up people in, villages and mandis.
Yeah.
I used to also travel, go to various warehouses, rail sidings. So those were very different kind of days, wherein you needed to have a bit of a determination and resilience to, or be a resilient person, because you may tend to get a bit lost on where you are. But then I never took refuge on being a woman. I just kept going on with what the platform had to provide for me. Today, the things are different. Technology has changed quite a bit. I think the technology has broken all these kind of barriers for women to be in this industry. Travel is much more easier, safer. When you work on screens, it doesn't matter who the person behind you or what gender it is. So I would say that, those days were a bit different. But I think if you and have the faith in yourself, and
Absolutely.
you know that you're on the right path, things turn your way. And then the second thing you asked about trading, in IFT during Blush, everybody comes out of IFT learning one thing: buy low, sell high, and then you land up in a corporate job, and then initially try to figure out what was low and what was high, because but that's absolutely right. But trading eventually is about creating ideas around it, know how to execute it, allocate budgets and capital around it, find the right people to do it, take risks around your position. You don't want to be only doing analysis, then you have to make research. So your trading calls to be backed by a proper research and analysis. And when you create your risk positions, the best tool that you need to learn in trading organization is to manage risk around it. So risk management has to be top class. India is primarily a cash market. So the markets are always evolving, but I think trade is a beautiful enabler. You connect farmers to the consumers, and you go through various kind of challenges. But I think these basic ingredients help you, because trading is every day. You fall every day, and then you need the mental strength to get up every day and be back, because market is not going to wait for you.
Yeah,
you have to be back in the race with all that you have.
Very true. Very true. So, on risk management, Garima, would you be kind enough to possibly give us a use case without naming anyone or any organization in particular? If you could explain to us with a use case as to how do you manage risk, and considering that the world is always on a boil, right? Even now, we have four nations who are virtually at war, right? The Ukraine-Russia war has been over a year, and it's affected a lot of Europe and other trading shipping routes also. And of course, the Red Sea route has also been affected with Israel going to war with a host number of countries. So, in this extremely volatile environment, given all these international factors, uh, would you be kind enough to elaborate on your risk management practices, and if you could give us a case study without naming, that'd be very kind of you.
Around risk management, I will pick up an example, or I will also try and demarcate how the international systems are and Indian systems are to bring a perspective. So, for example, we had a contract on import of a vessel into India from a country of origin. The transit is about, let's say, 30 days or so around there. And when you have contracts in place, there are certain obligations both sides.
Yeah.
But during that phase, what happened was that the import country regulations were changed. There were certain changes in the FITO that happened. And so the Indian buyer wanted to get out of, let's say, the contract, and was picking up instances on why it can be a force majeure.
Yeah.
However, in simple terms, the country of import are run by buyer requirement, but the international trade are always governed by contracts in place, and there are governing bodies. So even if things change, your governing contract prevails, and it becomes buyer's obligation to manage the import country requirements. And once you understand these aspects, which is the contracting, the governing bodies and the contracting systems, once you understand these basic things, you can stand up to your contracts and ensure that the performances get done or get performed. The second instance is COVID, wherein a lot of contracts were falling under force majeure, and one has to kind of maneuver his or her way through.
That would have been a very tough time.
In a tough time, and there were simple basic things like the vessels standing at various ports, and you don't have the documents because of the delays in the courier.
Yeah.
And then vessels standing at discharge port for a long time. Somebody's paying the cost. Huge demurrage costs are there. The buyer is going to say that not my fault. Documents have to come from your side, and one has to maneuver and see how best you can arrive at resolutions, and yet ensure that your contracts are well in place, so that you have your ground on which you can ensure that the contract performance is fair, is transparent, and goes a long way. Because at the end of the day, these are not one or two transactions. What you have to build are long-term businesses, sustainable businesses within various geographies. You touched base upon geopolitical. I think the world is looking at broken supply chains. The world is looking at a very different kind of trading environment. Because of these insecurities, food securities are becoming paramount for any geography. The countries are becoming more protective of their own food needs, and that is creating an artificial demand, or let me put it this way, that they are creating inflationary concerns. As far as India is concerned, I think India is, beautifully placed today. Indian agriculture is poised to grow. If
That's
I have
good to hear. Very good to hear. Very hard thing. Yeah. Please go on. Sorry.
I was saying that Indian agriculture for the next 10 or 20 years, there are lots of opportunities in Indian food and ag space, and one has to be rightly placed to capture it. Indian agriculture is expected to grow from 600 billion to, the numbers are around $3 trillion. GDP will grow, economy will grow. As per NSSO, every Indian is going to spend 50% of its income on food, and ask for safe food, better food, low price food, or good food. higher protein. So I can only touch base about few opportunities to excite.
No, this is
the
very
group that
exciting.
is there.
I'm sure it's music to a lot of people who are listening because ABCDs will continue to come to IFT to hire roles. That is what it translates to them. So, that's just fun. But yes, of course, the bottom line is extremely important. Garima, before we open the question and answers session, my last question to you is, I see that you work towards creating and translating to the society as well in terms of your social obligations and commitments, right? Possibly contributing to the weaker sections of society and so on and so forth. So I really appreciate if you could just touch upon those activities and tell us all about what you've been doing in terms of.
And it's,
Guys,
the
questions are there. Hang on. Abhi mujhe to khatam karne do, please. It started popping. But anyway.
So very quickly, well, as a family, we run a few schools in Gurgaon for the underprivileged kids. We've been running these schools from 2010. Just to clarify, these schools are not NGOs, but we run it entirely from our own family. And by now, around 600 to 700 children have already passed from these schools. Few have got admission into private schools with the benefits on the fees so that they can continue the education. One of them has become an engineer already. So very proud to share this because this school helps to transform life of these kids. It is to impart education and right nutrition to these kids and help them in their overall personality development. I think what is more important here is that when you engage in these kind of initiatives, once again, I go back to the choices. The choice to do this is with everybody. How and when you do it is completely onto you. And I'm a strong believer that when you showcase this kind of a platform to your kids, they learn, and we kind of ensure that these values are passed to the next generation because it is very important for the kids to start sharing and get these values right from the beginning. So our kids' birthday celebrations start with feeding and gifting the needy, along with the celebration with their friends and families and school friends. So I think the feeling of and Diwali is coming, so all the festivities will also start with a social contribution. The feeling of contentment that you get from these activities is incomparable.
Absolutely.
So everybody is most welcome to come to Gurgaon and have be with us, spend a day at these schools, interact with the kids. You will have a fun-filled day.
Absolutely. I would request if Ajay sir can come from Bangalore. Ajay sir, you'll have to take a flight or you'll have to take a boat to come to Delhi. That you decide. But wo Garima ne invite kar liya hai.
Yeah. But Garima, really, we are so proud of you about your all-round holistic achievements. It's not only professional, and I meant every word I said in the introduction. We are so proud to have such a diamond in our midst. And
it's a lab-grown diamond or natural?
just to give you a technical clarification, the Gems and Jewelry Expo Promotion Council has declared that only mined diamond will be called a diamond.
Okay.
There you go. Right from the house above. A senior talking. Yeah. So, Tanmay, now we can open the queue to question and answers. I would request the audience to please raise their questions, and it would be nice if you could switch on your cameras and we'd bring you on the spot so that you can ask Garima questions as well. कहीं भी हो, guys, campus में हो, अंदर हो, class में हो, it's all right. That's fine.
Here it's okay.
It's okay. Allocated time. Yeah. So we can have the first question. I'm going to go on mute, please. Tanmay, please manage the queue.
Yes, Mr. Smritanjay, please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Samir, Mr. Ajay. Thank you so much for organizing this discussion. Pleasure to meet you, Ms. Garima. I'm Jay. I'm from 2016-18. I'm currently in Vietnam. I had a couple of questions. Sorry to hijack. First one was uh, actually I would love to hear all your views. What are your opinion on the large pilferage of new trading agri-commodity companies which are just popping up all over Dubai, Singapore, Middle East post-COVID, because all the mineral companies, they saw that the gross margins are obviously much better in agri-commodities. So we are seeing a lot of these family-run companies moving from real estate and minerals into agri-commodities, and a lot of them just operate on back-to-back trading, and they are doing pretty well. So, do you think this is a long-term sustainable model, or do you think that we are going the other way with more consolidation with ABCD, Wilmar, Olam, so on and so forth?
So very good question, and I will not term it as a pilferage. So trading opportunities come whenever you see a role to play for any company or for any individual. Personally, I have worked in very structured companies, Cargill and LDC. Today, I have also got the opportunity to work in very entrepreneurial-driven companies like AgroCorp in Singapore and in India, wherein you see that how these companies are successfully built, started by two gentlemen over a period of 30 years, standing tall with their hard work. For any trading company to be successful, you need to have the right ingredients in place, I would say. Once again, one should not look at what kind of trade flow the company is trying to capture, or it's just about the cost margins, because at the end of the day, these are very short term results. What you have to look at is that whether your value system is going to resonate with the company you are working in, whether the company's kind of areas that they are working in are in the right direction, because gross margins are going to be built, let's say, over 1 year or 2 years. But if you have to build long-term sustainable businesses, then your trading core ingredients has to be in place. You need to have the right origination. You need to have the right kind of platforms to support the farmers. You need to have the right people, because any trading organization, if it is about commodities, is not going to differentiate between any kind of a commodity. So people are indeed your asset in any trading organization. And then the differentiation is, for anybody who's leading the organization, is do not become a manager. That's my recommendation, because if you try to over manage and under lead your teams, you're going to get into very micro details. So that's from people perspective. Number three is that have the right risk management tools in place, because the biggest failure for trading companies is when you do not manage your risk, and one fine day you understand that the risk was bigger than your appetite. So it's very important to define what kind of risks and to what limits you can do, and have those systems in place to be successful. Rest, the companies come up because there are opportunities. And if you see of any more opportunities, do let me know also. We will try and capture those kind of opportunities that maybe, are good for us to look at, I would say.
So honestly, I think LDC is capturing opportunities left and right. By the way, congratulations on the Namoi acquisition. So I'm ex-Olam, so I know that you guys beat Olam to it. It was a long drawn-out battle, but congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Actually, apologies again. I just had a follow-up question. We were talking about sustainability. Obviously, we know that in the late 2010s, there was a huge push towards sustainable supply chains, primarily in cocoa, coffee, wood, where child labor and climate change are big concerns. However, today, with the exception of palm, obviously is an outlier, but if you exclude palm, coffee, cocoa, the premium products, in the mainstream products like rice, wheat, corn, I think 99% nobody is willing to pay any premium for a sustainable chain today. Partly, of course, because of the high food inflations that we have witnessed post-COVID. So, do you think that we will see a drop in sustainable solutions? Because I do know that they haven't been as profitable as the McKinseys would like to project it to be.
Again, very touchy topic that you have picked up. So, first of all, let's understand, because sustainability is a very, let me put it this way, that commonly used term. But in true sense, sustainability is about long term. The results are not going to come in 1 year or few years, I would say, because you are taking initiative to protect the environment. You are growing the food in a manner which is taking care of the long-term health of ecosystem and society. The basics of sustainability are water conservation, less use of fertilizers, and I'm speaking more from India perspective, taking care of the soil health, taking care of crop rotations, agroforestry, cover crops. So you are right in the sense that the costs are huge today. That comes from certain challenges like fragmentation in a geography like India, wherein we have 600 villages, 100 million farmers approximately, let's say 120 or slightly more farmers, 700 or 800 million rural household today. So it's a very different kind of a country wherein the landscape is limited. But we know that the only solution for a geography like India is to ensure that water is conserved. We know about certain crop switches that we today target. Companies, most of the companies are doing work in their own sphere. So I feel it is also a time for various companies to come together and join hands so that you can make it big. From NDC perspective, we run a lot of projects within our appetite and sphere that we do. For example, we have projects of region agriculture going on in Maharashtra. We support women farmers in Rajasthan. At the end of the day, it is all about increasing income. At least India has a scope of increasing income of farmers by 25 to 30% if we are able to implement these kind of steps. So it is about transforming the society. Eventually, when you educate a woman farmer, the change that you're bringing in that region is huge, because that impacts the entire landscape, the entire community, educating kids, women being very independent. Costs are a result. We cannot look at the result today. Give it some time, it will come. And it is a journey which we all have to contribute in. Yeah.
And maybe we could move to the next question, please.
Thank
I can
you.
see a very large queue. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Ravi, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
Hi, Ravi.
My question is is related with what is the strategy regarding Indian businesses you have, and how do you look India as a sourcing destination, or you look at in more of what is the strategy about India basically? The question goes that.
Okay. So I obviously cannot speak about specific strategy, but let me give you a perspective. What is India? And I touched a bit upon macro at the beginning of the conversation. Today India is beautifully poised. We have a very friendly macro environment with urbanization, income growth, educated and a young population. Education is the driver, a very ambitious, driven young population. We all know that the country is going to grow economically with the sheer macro environment that we have. And India is going to add about $3 trillion in its GDP. Like I mentioned, as per the surveys that are going on, a lot of money is going to flow into food processing, and consumption of food. What does that mean? That means that the needle is going to move from a country wherein people were eating what they were being given to a country where people will start exercising their choice, which means they are going to ask for more food and more protein. All this change is not going to happen in 1 year, but trend wise it is going to happen. For a country like us, food, feed, and fuel, this combination is so potent that we will have to place ourselves in a manner that we are able to solve this complex. So, for example, to your question, what are the opportunities? We are going to see growth in infrastructure. The costs have to reduce. Our ports have to become more efficient. India is still today a system wherein we are using bags in mandis. We are using labor to pack our commodities in jute bags or PP bags. And then handling all those bags from one place to another, loading it onto the rail cars, unloading it using the same fashion. Rest of the world has already moved to automated transportation of, let's say, grains. So those kind of changes we will need to bring in. The second, which we are already seeing, is the creation of farmer produce organization. The government wanted to bring farm laws, which is a direct connect between the farmers and the end consumer or corporates, let me put it this way. Because the vision of the government is to double farmers' income and to really raise the entire rural livelihood and infrastructure. And that is going to spur the country's economy. That is where the growth is. So we have to ensure that our farmers, till now, our farmers have done a fantastic job. We have gone through various kind of revolutions. We have, in the 1960s, one vessel used to come from the US to feed the poor in the country, to a point where India started exporting wheat at some stage, and today rice, feeding the world. Is a fantastic journey that we have already undertaken. Our farmers grow 2 or 3 crops in a year, so they use the landslide like a factory already. So we have to support and ensure that we do our bit there. So our yields are better on the same land. Our usage of fertilizers are optimum. Technology in agriculture is going to bring a huge change, AgTech as we called it, growing at the rate of 10 to 12%. I touched upon protein, plant protein, pulses, animal protein. All these are going to see huge growth in the country, already growing by about 7 to 8%, if not a bit more. So that space is going to see a transformation. So to summarize, we are already going through that transformation. What the US was in 90s or what the China was in 2000, the country is standing right there. We are only going to see growth in multiple sectors, and I speak more on agriculture side. So we just have to be present in the sector, pick up the right things, do the right thing to ensure that the integration from the back end till the consumer, do your job, give the best price to the farmer, give the right price to the consumer, become that enabler. And then that in itself will bring out lots of opportunities in and around that we can possibly connect on.
Okay, thank you.
Tanvi, we could take the next question, please.
Mr. Whipple, please go ahead.
Very good morning. I'm Commander Manoj, retired this year. And
Hello, Commander.
I was part of the DGR 14 group. Very short tenure in IFT, but I'm really thankful to Samir, the entire organizing team, and thanks Garima for coming up for this podcast. While I've just founded a company called as Lava Global. Lava is an acronym for Land Air Water Adventures, and we are into adventure tourism. But the crop industry or this industry that we are now talking about, the pharma industries, is something which has been lingering on in my mind since some time now, and I wanted to do some investments in it, and primarily from the state of Uttarakhand. I have a very brief question for you, Garima. The thing is that how do you see opening up the EOUs, which I believe are already there in India, in terms of hemp productions or stevia? Primarily from the premise that I'm looking for something to grow in Uttarakhand, and I'm looking for EOs to supply to countries like Canada, US, or Europe. And what is exactly the scene within our own domestic market when I see any absorption within the pharmaceutical companies? That is one part. And second is any comments on the India scene with regard to organic fertilizers, versus the biggest mafia of the chemical fertilizers, purely in terms of the investments and growth potential, if I'm looking for my own part as an entrepreneur?
So, contrary to a lot of, how to put it, when India is seen as an importing geography, contrary to that, India is actually one of the largest exporter on multiple commodities. Some of the sectors are doing fantastic as we see it. We have our own ranks in, for example, in food grains we spoke about. For example, India is doing fantastic in the F&D sector and bringing about a lot of investments and let's say exports in multiple commodities, specialty. For example, spices. It is getting very popular and it is getting very, let's say, common for the rest of the geographies to look at it. So we are already doing a lot on the export economy from our side. For example, one of the biggest opportunity, aqua today. We have almost become a hub for export. We are one of the largest exporters of, let's say, multiple F&B, horticulture and animal husbandry, let's say, in those sector. We are big producers on textile, sugar, coal, grains. We become, so I just want to kind of bring out a lot of opportunities that are already there. To give you a very specific example, on Uttarakhand, a couple of years back, I was looking at organic cowpeas, which was a specific demand from one of our customers based out of the US. And I didn't know much about where it is grown. And then I figured out that on the lands of Uttarakhand, the cowpeas that are grown there are actually organic. And when we digged a bit more into this, it is already a specialty product. So for us in the country, it is important to demarcate on what kind of commodities we are going to be dependent upon the rest of the world. And it is absolutely fine to connect the cheapest origin to our geography here because you get the right price for the processing industry here. And then also figure out what are the specialty products that we can export from the geography, like groundnuts. We are doing a great work in that. And for that, we also need the right kind of infrastructure and facilities around it. Government policies, I think, are becoming very friendly. It's a very friendly environment for us to operate in. So, to your question, there are lots of opportunities around it. We just have to ensure that we work on the right kind of supply chain and take it to the rest of the world. Organic fertilizers, I don't have much view on that because it is primarily today under the government radar, and fertilizer is a space that I would not like to comment on. But what I would definitely like to comment on is that from our standing today, the right advice that we can give to the farmers in the country is the right use of fertilizer. The general mentality is put more ferts, put more pesticides, the better yield you get, which is not right. It has to be basis the soil health, and a lot of saving can come there.
But what can you do? What can you do if the government itself is giving a lot of subsidies, for the chemical fertilizers, right? Somewhere on in the margins of 50%. That's where the farmers, look into, and they totally understand that they need a quick yield and at the same time at a cheaper prices. And when it comes to the organic fertilizers, there are no government, regulatory bodies or anything in terms of subsidies. So that kind of challenges are going to be around for just not now. I think in the coming years too.
Definitely. I think, eventually, as a geography, we will have to move towards organic supply chains, IP, traceability. All these will come at the right time. Maybe today is we need to have some time frame around it. But I think in long term, today the country is dependent upon it, and the government has a role to play because they have to support the farmer livelihoods also. So we cannot switch it off in day one. But yes, I see multiple startups starting to work around that. And if you, I personally, I feel that in any startup, it is about the right product that you offer to the market. It's just not about the right kind of funding or valuation that you do, but just have the right product which you can scale to significant areas in the country and have the right blend of the value that you bring to the table.
I firmly believe in what you're just saying because this is what motivates people like me too. As my own company, Lava Global, has just got recognized as with the Startup India this October. And
Wow.
I also firmly believe that in case we are looking for a future growth potential in terms of the actual, the right yield and ensuring the soil's manure level is maintained, it is going to take some time because, it just doesn't happen overnight. And this question was popped up primarily from a friend's perspective who's an entrepreneur, a startup, and he's introduced one of the organic fertilizers in the market and is going through a tough time since past 2.5 years. So, in fact, I was looking up for this podcast, bring up this question. But for my own investment in the hemp industry, that is the cannabinoids, I have personally connected with certain pharmaceutical companies, including Cipla, and I was looking whether it has potential, though it is a digression from what I do in terms of adventure tourism. But then obviously, we have to keep our lookouts and ensure that we are, sort of a decentralized business perspective. And obviously, it's very interesting too, when you have opportunities, coming through the commodity trading or, setting up EOUs in India. And I think I've got a little bit of insight, and I'm really thankful for bringing up such a detailed version of what I was not even thinking about, and thanks for it.
Great to hear, and very happy to hear about some of the initiatives that have taken. So all the best, and rightly said, startup needs a lot of grit, a lot of determination. Good luck, best wishes, and wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Tanmay, can we move to the next person, please? Thank you.
Abhilash, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm from the batch of 26. So being a first year student and, I have an interest to get into trade. So how should one enhance their own knowledge and, be able to also showcase to the companies that they're capable of their job? And how do you, also one more question that, I look at it from a point of view of starting a business of my own. So could you give any advice on that too?
Yeah, I mean, simple words but very heavy thoughts that you have put. So, whatever your area of interests are, the only answer is that one has to read books. For example, I always have, and I kind of share it also. I always have a running book. So reading is the only thing, gaining knowledge and reading is the only thing that can help you whichever field you want to go into, whether tomorrow you want to go to a corporate job or you want to run your own business. I feel that first of all, gaining technical knowledge around the area of your subject is very important, needless to say. But the soft skills that you carry are going to impact how you grow. For example, in our world or even in general, what you need to have is, I've already covered the areas wherein you have to work hard towards it, wherein you have to be present every day, stand up every day. But at the same time, what is more important is that you have to be polite, be happy in what you do, and most importantly, be humble. That takes you very long in life.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhilash, for your question. Tanmay, could you tell me if are there any further questions from the queue?
No, sir, not as of now.
Great. So I think we've managed within our time. Usually we've gone 10 minutes beyond our scheduled time of 11 o'clock. So Garima, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm wishing you and family a very happy Diwali, great joy and happiness, and of course to the IFT family and all the audience who are watching today, a very happy Diwali to you.
Thank you very much, Samir. It was actually a very enjoyable session, very candid session, and that's what I enjoyed the most. Happy Diwali to everyone. Keep all of you keep your ambition very high, fly high in the air, but stay cool, stay very happy, stay very humble. Enjoy your life as you go on, and always remember when Neil Armstrong took his first step on the moon, he said one small step and a giant leap for the mankind. So we have to lead by our action, and our action should set an example. All the best to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you.